Hey guys, my name is Chantel. Welcome back to my channel and thanks for hanging out with me today. So today we are going to talk about Idolish7 Third Beat episode 10. I can't believe we're already 10 episodes in. It flew by so quick and this episode was a lot more lighthearted and really funny, but that also kind of scares me because, there's some hints in this episode that there's a storm coming pretty soon. And I'm like, not again. Anyways, let's just go ahead and get started with the first thing. So we start off with the Idolish7 members talking to Sumugi, where she announces that they will be a part of Friends Day, which is this 24-hour broadcast, which I'm like, that is a lot. And as everyone is talking about this, Iori is like thinking how could benefit them and how it also like diminishes their value because they're together with Trigger and Rivale, and he basically hopes that maybe Yatome Pro, at least from what it sounded like to me, it sounded like maybe he was hoping that Yatome Productions would turn it down, which I'm like, what the hell is up with that? Especially with like what happened in last week's episode, like the way that it ended. I don't know, like what's going on with Iori, man? Like, why is he thinking this way? And at the same time, I have to remind myself that Iori is really level-headed, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, just be happy, please. Like, just be happy with everybody, Don't overthink it. But I get it. He wants the best for Idolish7, and they're still new. They're like hatchlings compared to Trigger and Rivales. So I understand he wants, their group members to shine and pretty much be on the same level as the other two. We actually switch over to Trigger also getting this news as well. And, they're all fine with it. But then we get to hear Yatome's thoughts, which he also feels like now like these three groups have become like the faces of like the idol boom, and how he feels like it's a little too rushed or something like that to that extent. And he also doesn't like that Trigger is also being sold as a package deal, and he was also hoping that maybe Rivale would get sick. And I'm just like, what is up with everyone's mentality right now? Like, this is not a competition. Like, just let these boys be. They are all good with each other. They have friendships with one another. Like, just let them be, Like, I don't need this negativity from anybody, I don't know. I just, everyone's just getting along, and then just to hear something like this, I'm just like, dude, chill out, please. Like, chill. But it also kind of makes me like, like that kind of feeling, because Iori was also thinking the same thing, but with Trigger, and I'm just like, oh, jeez. And like I said, I don't like it. I don't like how Iori's thinking at the moment. Especially because I love and adore Iori. This kind of hurts and this kind of terrifies me a little bit. But I'm going to give my boy the benefit of the doubt. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see how he handles things. Anyway, so let's move on to the next group, which is Rivale. And I believe they're going to be like the main talent. I forgot what they were saying, like entertainment, I think. Something like that, right? So with Rivale, before they get into talking about, the Friends Day, Yuki actually apologizes to Momo, which I thought was really sweet because, last week's episode, things looked good between the two. But to actually see Yuki apologize properly to Momo was really sweet though, especially because he did let him know this time, like, hey, like, I was wrong. Just the way that you care for me is the same way that I care for you. And I'm just like, oh, but you can tell like that meant a lot to Momo. But I also like that the manager of Rivale, you can see him like in the corner just like rooting for Yuki to say what he wanted to say, I thought that was adorable. Like, Rivale's manager is so adorable. I love him so much. But anyway, once he does his apology and everything is good between the two, Yuki notices that Shimoka-san isn't going to be a part of Friends Day. And that already sent like red flags to the two of them, especially because Momo was saying how that was kind of weird because Shimoka-san has always been a part of it and he would never miss it for anything, and even if he had to for whatever reason, he would appear for 5 minutes at least. Like, that's how much he loves Friends Day and has been a part of it for a while too. And that's actually when Rivale's manager says that it was because he got sick or something. And as soon as he said that, I'm like, that's kind of suspicious, especially when Momo like confirms it, and he realizes that nobody from Tsukumo is on the list. And again, Yuki also notices that like some regulars are missing, and that's when Momo actually says that this is all part of Ryo-san's plan. Like, he is basically sending them a message, which I'm like, God damn it. Like, already we're starting with Ryo-san, like, seriously. Like, he's already coming for them. Like, he's already sending, like, a warning that a storm is coming. And the storm is coming quick by the looks of it. And, you know, it makes me afraid for everybody because I have no idea what Ryo-san is gonna plan. I don't know what's in store for the 3 groups, but it scares me for sure because Ryo-san, again, he's just a little nutty, and he definitely takes things a little too far. Like, compared to the other characters that I'm like, ugh, like Yatome, like in season 1, I was like, ugh, I don't like him. But he never really did anything too bad. Like, yeah, he did some things that were bad, but like, they weren't like extreme. Same thing with Kujo. Like, yeah, he was like taking things a little too far there, and I thought that was gonna like be it, right? But no, then you have someone like Ryo-san, and it's kind of like, oh my god. Like, he makes the other 2 seem like angels. Like, that's how I see it. Like, that's the best way that I can put it. But again, he makes for a good antagonist, and that's what I love about this because it just makes the whole drama like really interesting. But anyway, as like they were talking about this, I love like the imagery though, because as Momo and Yuki were talking about this, you have like this, like, we see them, but we see like their backs like on the black TV screen. It almost feels like very eerie, or like is that somebody's watching them. That's kind of the vibe that I got when I saw that, and I did not like that. Like, oh, like it gave me a little bit like chills, you know? But it definitely sets the mood for what's coming next for sure. And yeah, so that's pretty much about it, what we get from Ryo-san sending a message and stuff that something is coming. So let's move on to happier things, which is all the groups meeting up. So they basically gather to discuss like details about Friends Day with the production staff, and as they're like talking about this, one of them like starts whipping out like this red button and gives them like their first mission, which is to write a song within 24 hours. And as soon as the camera people like pop up, like, I was dying because everyone's reactions were so funny. Momo's like first thing was like, wait a minute, what about our jobs tomorrow? And Yuki's like, I don't know. And then freaking Yamato, his made me laugh so hard because he was so concerned about like his toothbrush and underwear. I'm like, boy, but at the same time, I get it. Like, this is all like just sprung on them. They had no time to prepare or pack anything. They just like up and left, which is kind of crazy and insane to me, but it also makes for like good entertainment for the people that are going to be watching the broadcast. And it is so funny too because they also have Mitsuki like read like the sign and basically say that they're going to Atami, which I thought was so funny because Mitsuki's like reaction to that, like at first he was just like, oh, like, and he's just like reading it and processing it at the same time, and once he realizes where they're going, he's like, what the heck? Like, everyone's reactions, I'm telling you, was so funny. I have not laughed this hard in so long. And again, this is a nice change of pace because the past episodes were just full of an emotional roller coaster. So just to see like something a little bit more lighthearted and funny this week was really nice. But anyway, so their training camp basically begins. And I had a lot of you in my finale video for season 2 of Idolish7 tell me about this training camp and how you guys were looking forward to it as well. And I can see why you guys were looking forward to it. Like, it was such a fun thing to see for sure. And just seeing all 3 groups together like this was such a nice treat because we rarely get to see all 3 of them. And, you know, Riku's words, you know, reflect that towards the end of the episode, which I will talk about eventually. But for now, let's go ahead and talk about how things go for the boys. So they're just checking out everything, and Yamato pretty much pulls out the alcohol. And I already was like, oh, great. Like, this is not going to end well. Because when alcohol is involved, things do not go so well with the boys. Like, everyone starts getting a little too much. And that's basically what happens. So everyone gets really drunk you know, except for like the younger ones that can't drink, obviously, but the ones that can, oh my gosh, what a mess. And I felt so bad for the poor managers because, you know, they start talking and I already knew where this was going as soon as I saw all of them like drinking, because I was like, God damn it, like they're gonna say something stupid or something that they're not supposed to. They're gonna get a little too relaxed for everyone's liking. And sure enough, that's what happens. So the boys like talk about the like summer concert that they had where they sung Natsushiyose. And then freaking Ryu starts saying how he was relieved because, especially after like all the circumstances after he learned about it, like he was happy like with everything. And Trigger's manager was like, cut that out. We're not using that. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, why are you guys saying this? Like, no one's supposed to know about this. Like, they completely forgot that they were being recorded. And I thought that was so hilarious, but also just kind of like, oh my gosh, these boys, you know, we cannot trust them with alcohol, clearly. And then we also have Yamato, like, because Gaku starts asking him, like, oh, like, how is it going after, you know, your dad retired? And of course, Yamato starts saying some things that he shouldn't. And Sumugi's like, you need to cut that out, please. And then same thing with Momo. Mitsuki asks him, like, oh, have you been, like, teased or anything? And Momo's like, oh, let me think about it. And the manager's like, oh, don't use that either. And then Ryo starts asking, like, hey, Yuki, like, I heard some rumors, like, about you, why you switched over from romance dramas to like more serious ones. Is it true it's because like none of the women co-stars want to be with you? And Yuki was so ruthless. He was like, it's them that don't want to co-star with me. Like they asked him out and then they refused to co-star after that. And I'm just like, oh, I know where this is going. And he was about to spill some names too, which honestly I kind of wanted to know too, but like they cut that out like before like we could hear anything. And Rivala's manager was like, yeah, no, please do not use this at all. But like, you guys, this whole thing was so funny because they were just talking about some really dicey topics and it was just so funny. Like the way that I laughed so hard that I needed to pause the episode was so fantastic. Like I was not expecting this, and I love that Tsumugi was like, that's it, I'm gonna take the alcohol away, and she leaves them a note like, please use topics that we can use. But anyway, once everyone gets a little bit sober, Iori takes over and tries to like organize some things, but the staff does not like that. They're like, nah, that's too boring, let's do something else. So they end up like grouping the boys into like these sections, which one group has to handle grocery shopping, one has to do the cooking, cleaning, and entertainment, which was honestly so funny because the groups that you would see together, like you already know that it was gonna be a disaster, especially because you have Mitsuki, Yuki, and Yamato who can, you know, cook. We're doing the grocery shopping when they're the only ones, from what I can tell, that know how to cook properly. And then you have like the group that was in charge of cooking, and I was like, oh geez, you have Momo, Nagi, and Tamaki, and I was just like, oh no. Like I can already see that being a disaster, and sure enough, everything ends up being a disaster. So let's start off with like our first group, which is Yuki, Yamato, and Mitsuki. So when they go grocery shopping, Yamato did say beforehand that Mitsuki has no sense of direction, and that comes into play. Like Mitsuki ends up getting lost as he's like trying to get to the store to buy groceries, and then Yuki ends up getting tired and he doesn't want to walk anymore, so they end up hitchhiking. And like the driver was like, hey, who's that girl behind you? And at first I was so confused because I was like, what is the dude talking about, like a girl? Like, and they did like the little silhouette thing, like, you know, showing you like, oh, like there was someone here or something like that. But which at first I thought, oh, maybe it's like one of the staff people, but I didn't realize that they were talking about like a ghost. And I only realized it until Riku was talking to it, and I'm like, what the hell is going on with this episode? Like, this episode was so wild, man. And it was just so hilarious because Yamato was like, we didn't want to deal with it, so we just brought her with us. And I'm like, who the heck does that. Like, it's so funny. They didn't even question it. They were just like, all right, just come with us. Like, what? And then all three of them just look like a hot mess and like they had seen something, which just makes the whole scene even more funny. So then we actually move on to Tamaki, Momo, and Nagi, which again, they're in charge of cooking, and we see them making so much of a mess of like everything. Like, they're just adding ingredients and random things into the curry, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like these poor boys are about to get like some really nasty stomach aches or something. Like, they're all about to spend their time in the toilet. Like, I can already see that coming. Like, these poor boys. And sure enough, as they're cooking, like, that did not look appetizing. And my boy Momo, like, the fact that he was looking at the stuff, he's like, should we peel up? It'll be fine. Like, the whole time I was just like, Momo, don't. Why are you guys doing this, you know? And then we move on to the entertainment group, which is Ryu, Sogo, and Riku. And they're trying to think of a way to entertain everybody, and they're like, oh, we should do like a test of courage. And as they're trying to figure that out, I see Riku like just talking, like he hears something and he's just quiet and he's like, oh, like the ghostie said that she can help us and stuff like that. And you know, no one believes like there's someone actually there until like she like blows on Ryu's neck, and that's when they believe like, oh, like there's actually somebody there, which I thought was so funny because like this is something I was thinking the whole time. How the heck was Riku the only one that could communicate with the ghost? Like, I thought that was so funny. Like, he was the only one that could communicate and hear her. Like, what was up with that? Why couldn't anyone else hear her or, like, talk to her? Like, it was just only Riku. Like, I thought that was so funny. Like, what on earth was going on with this episode? But anyway, everyone seems to have, like, a really nice, lovely time. And again, I love seeing all three of the groups just having a good time together, just spending time together, and just like being boys and having fun. I thought that was so cute and adorable. And also seeing Riku just talk to the ghost and like just having fun with her, like I thought that was so funny. But anyway, Tamaki was like obviously scared of the whole test of courage, which I thought was like, oh, like I felt so bad for him. And I like that Ten does comfort him. Like, it was so cute. Oh, speaking of Ten, this is also something, I know it's a little late into like me discussing it, but I had to talk about it right now that I'm like bringing up Ten. I thought it was so funny because when Riku was talking to Ten earlier in the episode and just like being all happy, you know, Riku being Riku, right? And I thought Ten was gonna be like snappy, you know, just his regular self, like how he is with Riku. Nope, he puts on his like nice act, his like little persona that he shows like to everyone, and he's being like super sweet and nice, which I thought was really cute for Riku. But at the same time, I was with Gaku, I was like, how long is he gonna keep that up? Because like he can't turn it off, obviously, because he knows he's being filmed. But anyway, I do, like I said, I was saying earlier before I remembered this, he does comfort Tamaki, which I thought was honestly really, really sweet of him. And that's when Ten actually goes up to Riku and asks, you know, hey, like, is she still out there? And Riku looks really sad as he's talking to the ghost, and that's when Riku's like, oh, like, she says that she doesn't want to leave. And Ten says, well, she's got to, because we live in different worlds. She can't stay forever. So like the ghostie makes a request to hear a song, and that she loved Zero, so it would be nice to hear a song. And sure enough, Ten takes care of that, and he starts singing this one, which was really nice to see, like everyone gathering, listening to Ten, and just like enjoying their time. And I like that, you know, they were saying, you know, Ten is really good solo, but I love that Gaku and Ryu were saying, you know, he's great solo, but I like it that all three of us are together. And I was like, oh, like that was so sweet, like them saying that. Like it just shows you like how strong their bond is now, and just how much they care for one another. And it also tells me like they would love to be together like as a group for as long as they can as well. And that's actually when we switch over to Riku, where he basically says like, you know, how all three groups are in different worlds and they have like their own dreams, and how all of them being together is like a miracle, and it's like a once in a lifetime chance. And something like this will probably never happen again, and that tonight is special, which goes back to what I was saying earlier, how like this is like a special thing, like seeing them all three together is really nice, and I don't think we'll ever get to see something like this ever again. Like, yeah, we do see them like here and there, but like actually getting to see them just acting like regular boys and just having like silly conversations and just talking with one another and having fun instead of just like being just idols and having to work together was really nice. Like, yes, they are technically working, because this is a 24-hour broadcast, but they're also having fun and being themselves around each other. And this is something that's probably only gonna happen once. Who knows if this will happen again? Like, it's a little bittersweet, especially because, how Riku was saying things and he looks a little sad as he's saying this. And I'm sure he will love to have more moments like this and like memories like this, and I'm sure like down the line they're gonna look back on this day and cherish it so much. And yeah, you guys, that's pretty much it regarding this week's episode. Next week's episode, looks like things are gonna get a little crazy, especially from what I've been seeing on Twitter, where they're like, this episode was happy, but next week's episode shouldn't be. And I'm like, oh, great. Which I kind of expected, because I see like in the preview that Ryo-san was in it. So I'm like, oh, great. So anytime Ryo-san's in it, like, I already know like something's gonna be going on. And I do apologize that I didn't have anything too like in depth, obviously, to say for this week's episode. This week's episode was more lighthearted and getting to see the boys like having fun, which was really, really, really nice to see, and just a nice break from all the drama, even though, like I said earlier, like we know the drama is coming, we know a storm is coming. But anyways, you guys, that's all I have to say, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!